So chop off the ends, add the chopped off ends of the scooter for the mounts so I can use the full drivetrain and braking system of the large scooter to stop this in time for when it needs to stop, because it's probably going to be pretty fast. What you do is you get a jack open the swing arm to give you the correct distance, weld on the ends level with the swing arm, because obviously it will prise open, but then you, once it's warm, pull it back into where it needs to be. It's called tweaking, as I used to call it in the motorcycle handlebar building game. And then once you've tweaked the back end square, you will then move to the front end, and you will, once that's bolted up nice and square, you will then start tweaking the front end to where it mounts to the actual mounts on the bike. So this is only a mx350 swing arm. I haven't lengthened it or nothing, just added on these extra cut-offs from the large scooter. So this is still an mx350 swing arm, probably now the world's first mx350 swing arm with motorcycle brakes, and the mx350 will also have motorcycle front wheel and brake as well. Ta-da! That is my Sur-Ron build, for those who haven't seen it. Currently has a few of the top spots on the world's quickest times on Draggy. That is the KX65 build, which is underway. That is an XR250 I'm doing the top end on, and that is the donor scooter for the MX350. That's my daughter's quad, and I'll just quickly show you the other build, which is my son's KTM there that I built for him. That is a 72 volt KTM, and yeah, that's it. So that is my little family of electrics. But yeah, I'll move on to this build for now, because I'm waiting on power upgrades for the Sur-Ron that I'm going to decide on. Then I'll be putting my Sur-Ron 20 odd kilowatts into the little KX65. But back to this, is what you guys want to know about. I've got all the parts for this. We'll be going 72 volt 40Ah 217 moly cell pack that I've got that I use. And yeah, I'm looking at around about 250 or higher amps to put through this particular little MX350. So here it is coming together. The Razor build, a couple hours on it now. Managed to get the swing arm sorted, beefed up to suit the motorcycle rear end. It's also going to get the front end off that electric bike, so it's running full motorcycle brakes front and rear. What I am going to have to do is somehow squeeze a massive 72 volt battery in here. I didn't want to extend the swing arm because I wanted to keep it all stock and tight so it's not waffling around. But my plan is to cut out the frame and lengthen the frame. So this is where it also might change as well. I might lengthen the frame slightly so it's not too long, chop out the section here so the battery can drop in and sit on the bottom there. Yeah, we'll see. I also have been thinking about just lowering the frame here so the battery can drop in the top, then I won't have to do too much with it to fit the battery in. But that'll be another day when I get the battery down and check out some measurements. But yeah, that's it. Little MX350. Look at it. It's gonna be hilarious, that. So that's the mock-up done for the basic setup. Using all the bits off that sorry ass scooter. Yeah, that was the road legal scooter, but not anymore because it's being abused. Now you got that. So now there is the big 72 volt 40H molly cell pack. I will be using my Suron leftovers, so I've got a road air guard there, just for scooping coal there. We have a thumb throttle. I might use that, I might not, it depends what it feels like. We have a nuclear 24F, that was originally a Suron one, but that will be made to fit. And then I will run my QS8s and my brake off the Suron, but that's it. So next on the list, now that we've got the basic shape, yeah, so I've chopped down the stem here and I've retrofitted bearing cups in. Not this one, they're different ones, they're off a Betty, with some bit older bearings that I had, different sets. So that's going to work out well up the top. And then it's like a mountain bike setup here, which will pull it through. I'll probably just use a long bolt all the way up and down to centre it and pull it in nice and snug. So this part of the frame here, I want to try and keep this stem because I want to keep it as a razor build. I don't want to make it not a razor because then it's pointless, it's not really a razor. So I will extend the frame down on an angle, come across flat, well on an angle down but flat, so the battery can sit in there, and then the frame will come up on an angle again, and it's probably going to be about 100mm longer. And I'm going to taper it into this stem when I move the whole thing forward. I want to keep this in here. That's it. Little wet ring. So far it's probably about 4 to 5 hours. Once it's all done, I'll be doing things like plating up, yeah, just to take the stress away from the heat affected zone from the welds. Just stick a plate over, spreads it out there. I might do some kind of wrap around there just to add a little bit of rigidity, but also so I can just like fit a cool little guard. We'll see. I'll tickle around with these a little bit more because they're not perfect and I want it to be perfect, the centering and squareness. And then the whole thing we'll just get a little clean up. Won't go too crazy on it because it's just a cheap build with what I had around. And then yeah, I'll probably just paint it all silver and it can be the Silver Razor MX like it was originally. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Call it the Silver Surfer, eh? So we need to put some kind of lock on them. So that's it. Okay, so day 2, another couple of hours spent on the bike. Obviously that one is the sorry one that has been getting chopped up and all the parts taken off it, so it will be running the motorcycle brakes on there and the running gear. Then here we have it. So what did I have to do today? Today, this stem was obviously a moped stem, so what I've done is I cut it down, the stereo tube, cut it down to the correct length. I do have a load of different bearings I have in my boxes of builds and whatnot. I've used the cups off a Betty and the bearings out of a Suron or a mountain bike, similar type bearings anyway, and mountain bike stem on there with some mountain bike bars flipped over just to give it that little cool look. I will be running a bolt straight up through there to pull it all together nice and snugly instead of using a mountain bike setup. Not that the mountain bike setup's bad because my Suron runs one at 130 plus kilometers an hour. So We will be running motorcycle brakes front and rear. Now that it's in the mock-up stage, I will be fish plating up these little areas here just to take the stress off, the heat affected zone off the welds. It's just good practice to do that so you don't get any cracks, because that's the only thing holding the back wheel on really, where it's been welded. I mean, that was TIG welded and pretty well, pumped some rod in there. But yeah, I just like to do everything a little bit safer, so I'll be getting played up. I will be messing around with these little mounts here because they're not perfectly square. I just wanted to get the back end in, tack everything up, and then I'll come round to tweaking that to exactly where it needs to be at the finish point. This is a bash guard that I made for my Sur-Ron ages ago. So all of these are leftover Sur-Ron parts. So that's what I'm using. But I just put this on here for now. But I probably will put it on in the end anyway, just for something, otherwise it's just going to sit there. So that's where I'll be lowering the frame around about to, so I can fit the big 72 volt 40H 21700 molly cell pack in there. That has got a, well, I've pulled 330 amps out of that on my other bike, so it's capable of 330 peak. So yeah, it'll be pretty good in that. I have a nuclear 24F that I'm going to run on it. That was off a Sur-Ron. But yeah, so I'll have to figure out the wiring for that. I'm not really a wiring guy, but I'll suss it out. And I will be using QS8s and a breaker. I might use that thumb throttle, I'm not quite sure yet, but we'll see. Yeah, so tomorrow I'll do another few hours. I'll chop this frame out. I want to try and keep it razor build. I don't want to mess around not making it a razor build, because then it's not a razor build, is it? It's just a fucking new bike, and yeah, well, anybody can do that. So what I will do is I will cut this out here. I will cut that off at the bottom and cut it out at the top. We'll extend that about 200 mil, and I'm going to make up a little drop frame for the battery to sit into, because I want to be able to drop the battery in from the top or the side, but I'll have to figure that out when I get to it, depending on the space I'll have. Because if I have to get rid of that top tube and make two tubes that come out, then it'll drop in. But if I can just slot it in sideways, then I can still run the single tube. But it is a fairly big battery, and getting it in to slot will be a bit of a task. But that's it. That's where it's at so far. I'm probably 5 hours deep all up, but it's not too bad when you think about what's happening with a full custom swing arm, custom front end, custom wheels, and yeah, everything basically mocked up other than the stretch the frame. Pretty cool, definitely different. So cut the frame out here on that join. That'll be getting lengthened 150. That'll move everything up. Chop the frame off here, and then I'm making a tubular frame that'll come down both sides, kind of more like a dirt bike, so it will resemble that mx350 there. Is what will basically be happening here. I've got the drop frame there, which was made out of an old dog bed. So yeah, it's pretty easy to work on these. So there we have it, day 2. It was probably about 8 hours deep now, but it's probably going to take me longer because no doubt I'm going to fuck around when I know I shouldn't, just doing loads of cool little shit. So the nuclear 24F is going to go up there, give it a little faceplate, as well as this really good spot for cooling. I will extend the phase wires and run them up, keep everything as neat as possible. I'm going to crease up a little bit of sheet and weld it in around here, just to give extra protection to the battery and make the frame rigid. I will put in a plate over here joining the two tubes, again to take away the stress from the the has zone on the welded area. As you can see, I squashed the both in, welded them, jammed them in there and welded around. And we've extended the top tube. Extended the top tube 150mm. Inside there, I sleeved it as well for extra strength. On here, I've done a little battery clamping system to clamp the battery in. I will be making up a little seat there for it to sit in on rubbers. So it will be pretty rigid once it's in there, and it'll have a little pad there as well. And I'll make up a little stopper for the top so it's all nice and snug. So I welded the pegs onto the back of the frame, keep it nice and low, move the pegs backwards a little bit. But yeah, it's probably the best spot for them. So the swing arm, I cut off the scooter rear end, squashed them in, cut it off and welded that straight on. I am now going to, if I can find them. Anyway, I am going to weld in a piece from here across there. So it just makes that whole back end that little bit more rigid for braking and the torque. So it just passes through onto that and into the swing arm. Probably, yeah, I don't know. I might play it up there, I might not. What else? It's pretty strong with them two tubes in, so that's pretty good. I might put in some gussets here. Other than that, with gussets there, that there, it's going to be pretty snug. Everything, you can see the nice clean lines I followed of the bike everywhere. Everything just flows up in line with the battery. Everything looks like it was like that when I painted from stock. That's my idea of bike build, to make it look like it was designed like that from scratch. Now, basic tools. I used a gasless welder, nothing special, because when I'm welding galvanized pipe, it works out better. You know exactly what you're doing to weld it with gasless. It stops the galvanized spitting back out as the flux on the top coats over the weld, so you don't get loads of pinholes in your welds. It's worse with TIG welding, it's terrible with galv. So yeah, it's all gasless wire. So anyone has a gasless wire access to them these days, it's possible to do it with just a welder, a grinder. I used an old door frame, and then this other bit here was an old dog's bed. So what I've done here is create all that out of scrap metal, and that's what it looks like in the end. So there it is, the budget build. That came from chopping up that road scooter because it was just sat there. Putting the running gear on that, using one of my spare Sur-Ron batteries. That is a controller off a Sur-Ron, but it is a nuclear 24F. But yeah, I've just had them sitting around for ages now, so it was time they got put to some use. So that's it. I also widened the swing arm. All I'd done was jacked it open with the jack and then manipulated it back into shape around the swing arm pivot. There's the latest little weapon. Be a 72 volt, probably running about 250 amps or more on a nuclear 24F. We'll see what happens with heat in the motor. I will be slotting the motor and spray varnishing the internals so it can breathe and let the heat out, but it's actually one of my favourites that I've done of all of them. Obviously I won't ever top me first beauty of the electric one, insert on. But as far as cool tiny little mini bikes go, that is epic. It's tiny. Cool with a nuke on the front there. The little face plate. Best place for it to cool as well. Yep, really happy with that one. So, as I thought, I'd get a bit carried away. So today I got as far as welding on some plates now, just to help transfer the torque of the motor up the swing arm and take away from the strain of the welded joint. And then I wanted to strengthen the frame as well, so I chopped up more of the dog's bed and put in some bars that go across the frame, all obviously perfectly in line as you would expect. So that's it now. Definitely not going to do any more welding other than a little plate at the bottom. I'll probably spend a little hour doing that tomorrow. But yeah, I knew I'd get carried away instead of just doing a simple version. But that's it. It's pretty cool. Little weapon. All lines up perfect. Tiny little thing though, still minute. So that is the scooter that I pulled apart for the street bike build. Now people are wondering about the rigidity of the single triple on there. So as a little comparison, this is a mx350 clamp setup. This is off the scooter. As you can see, it is absolutely ridiculously over engineered, but that's good because it's kind of what I need for the single clamp. It's even bigger than a Honda XR250R old school one. It's probably even wider as well. So yeah, need not worry about the rigidity of that because it's fucking solid. We're in the chop shop. We've got the gen1 350. I was going to put different forks on it and everything, but I want to use that front rim, and as you can see, it is so wide in comparison to, say, a standard kind of triple. So I really want to keep that look of the front being fat, so I'm probably going to have to stick with them. I mean, they are heavy duty, them. They're so wide, look how thick the actual clamp is. So if we're going in a straight line, they'll be pretty good once I clean them up. And then I've got me little scrapper bikes, pit bikes there. But the other gen1 that I've got, look at what some kid done, chewed the swing arm out to put a motor in. Yeah, so I'm just busy taking parts off that pit bike, like the front forks. So I'm probably going to have to modify the steering tube to suit as well. But in general, it'll be a good size for that, because I'm going to lengthen the frame Probably gonna try and make that swing arm mount onto the Gen 1, because it's not much different in length. It's only like 30mm, so it'll be pretty good for a small little build. So that swing arm is gonna have to get tossed anyway because it's junk, and I'll run it as a mono shock like it is, because I'm gonna lengthen this frame to suit a Sur-Ron battery. So when I lengthen it, I'll leave enough space here so I can put a motor, and the motor will go there, and it will be yeah, a true mid-mount motor on this little Gen 1, because I can't keep that swing arm, it's just fucked, so it's pointless. That'll be a nice little small build for my daughter, I think, to move up from the quad, because it's pretty small that front end, it's not all the way down, so yeah, it'll still be a small bike for her. That 60 volt that should rip. Here it is, all in undercoat. So that is mostly a stock arm but modified. That is mostly a stock frame but modified. These are not stock rims and hubs, and they're not the stock forks, they all came off the scooter. And then got the motor there, which I've stripped apart, cleaned it up. I'll put the cases back on after I have drilled some holes in there to let it breathe, so it'll cope with the heat a little bit better, letting the heat out. That's it. Paint it up tomorrow and assemble it. So final day of rebuilding. After today it will be a case of doing the wiring and tuning, but that's it, it's all been painted now. Everything looking schmick other than the old plastics, which I kind of like. It's like grey on that side, it's that sun faded. And then still a bit blue on this side. So yeah, just gotta do the wiring, hooking everything up. There's not that much really. Fit that controller properly, gonna make a little mount and drill and tap into the top of them. All the brakes are done. Running proper road bike brakes. That's it. She'll be up and running this weekend, and then I'll have to list it for sale, because that's what I promised the missus I was going to do. I'll just put a suitable price on it and hopefully it won't sell, and then we'll get to keep it. My son's going to go mad dragging that. He's going to think he's epic. All the motor got drilled out to vent for air, as it will not be seen any kind of wet weather, just a strip or a street. That's it though, Nikola 24F. Probably going to estimate around about running 20 kilowatt, but that should be pretty hectic in such a small little bike, because it is tiny still. Raised a Gen 1. That paint on there as well is metallic, so when you take it outside it shimmers in the sun. Here is the little Gen 1 build. Eventually got round there, getting it all wired up, nearly properly, but enough to probably give it a test, because I got the brakes in, because when I give it a little test before it was hectic, so I was like, nah, wait until I get the brakes. So there they are, decent size reservoirs to feed the real bike brakes. There it is, that's 72 volt 40Ah. I've also got another little hub built going on, same hub. That's pretty cool, that one actually. Yeah, it'll look sick when it's actually finished. But this is the one for now that I need to focus on. Just get it past that point. Yeah, so just drop the frame down from there, bend it around and up. And then obviously there's two nice little cross members that come across and pick up the lines of the fairing. I've extended the frame as well. Let's see how cool it looks. And the angles that are created there. That, funnily enough, was an old dog bed that I chopped up. This is all being a build from recycled parts and two wrecks of bikes, basically a wrecked scooter and a wrecked mx350, and then wallop, that's what you get. The only thing really new on there is that controller and the brakes, and the rest's just old stuff that I've had lying around or ripped off other bikes. Anyway, that's going to be finished this week as well, which takes that battery also. But I guess I'm going to have to give that a test, even though I'm a little bit weary because it was a rocket last time. It's too nasty. Done 110 k's on it the other day, but I just want to spit you off.